What's up, everybody? Brad here, back with the Microsoft Surface Go. It is time to take a little closer look, if you will, or whatever you want to call it. Here, I've been using this thing for well over a week now. I actually took it to New York last week. This is the Surface Go in Delta Comfort, part of the airliners. This is it on the back of the tray table in front of me, and I went all in with this machine. I took it with me to New York. It was the only machine I had, so if this thing came up short, I wasn't getting work done, and it gave me just a really good appreciation for what this thing is and what this thing isn't. So the Microsoft Surface Go is the entry-level tablet from Microsoft. Starts at $399, but that comes with 64 gigabytes of storage, but that is lower performant eMMC. If you opt for the 128 gigs with 8 gigs of RAM. That does increase the price, but it is faster solid state storage, and that is the version that Microsoft sent me. Now, here's kind of the good and the bad. The good is the size and form factor of this thing. I love it. It is super ultra mobile. It is lightweight. It is fanless. It has USB Type-C. The new type cover, is wonderful. The resolution and display are great. There are some large bezels, but overall, this thing is a super ultra mobile form factor device that I love. It is going to be great for a certain demographic. And let me explain here, because the performance of this thing is where the big questions come in, and everyone's been asking about it. It's like, hey, how is it? And so you can run benchmarks, but they just don't honestly tell you a lot. Here's what you need to know about the Surface Go. It is good for running one app at a time. And what I mean by that is, yes, you can run multiple apps. It's Windows 10. It's proper Windows. You can do whatever you want with it. But for example, when I was running Skype and on a video call and trying to run Twitter at the same time, there was some input lag. I mean, it's definitely doable, but if you're having a video conferencing call and you're trying to do other things, this is not the device for you. I promise you that. If you're just browsing the web, if you're just watching video, if you are just using Twitter, what I'm trying to say here is it's good for running full screen apps. If you're going to run an app, run it at full screen and only run that app, and this thing will be great for that experience. And that's kind of what you need to know at a high level here. Now, there's a lot of good use cases for this. Microsoft pitches this for the first line, which is kind of the people on the front line. People like waitresses, people working in assembly lines, people walking out and being ultra mobile and need a light form factor PC. And I think this thing fits into there perfectly. I talked to law firms. I talked to people who work in assembly plants. I talked to people who are walking around in the field all day. And what they were saying was actually kind of interesting. When I asked them about, hey, should Microsoft include a type cover? They said no. Actually, what they really wanted was a pen, which makes a lot of sense. If you're walking around with this thing, because it only weighs 1.15 pounds, you're not going to be standing up using this keyboard. While it is great, don't get me wrong, I really like what Microsoft has done here. A pen is actually easier to put input things. Imagine you're walking down the assembly line and you have to put in 6 widgets. You're going to be standing there and you're just going to tap on the screen. It's going to be easier with a pen. Yes, you can absolutely use your finger too. So I'm not going to ding Microsoft too much for not including the type cover. They don't include that on any of their products. Some people will view it as essential. And if you're looking for a small laptop form factor, that is absolutely essential. And granted, the new type cover, it's wonderful. It is a little cramped after long periods of typing, but for writing an email or whatever, when I wrote my review of this thing that is linked below, you do feel a little bit cramped. The trackpad is wonderful. It's the size of an Olympic swimming pool. It is large. It is proud. Microsoft did a good job there with the type cover. But the battery life is something you should be aware of too. On the lowest end, I got 4 hours of battery life. Now that was when I was taxing the CPU quite a bit. On the higher end, 6.5. I would feel comfortable telling you with a straight face that between 5 and 5.5 hours is what you're going to get out of this device. And that is not a lot. That is something Microsoft definitely can improve upon. Also, the bezels of this device are quite large. Microsoft could have done a better job there of thinning up those bezels. But overall, I quite like this device. The form factor is wonderful. It is very nice. It's kind of hard to I don't want to say hard to explain because it's easy to explain. It's a good size, but it's super mobile. Coming from a Surface Book 2 15-inch to this thing feels, I mean, you can hold it one-handed. It's great. On an airplane, loads of room, you don't feel cramped. Now, using it on your lap is a bit tough. I mean, look how wide this thing is. It's not very large. It's about as, well, a little bit wider than just my hand. So your legs are going to be a little cramped. I don't recommend using it on your lap because you get to sit awkwardly. For some people, it will be just fine. I'm absolutely positive of that, and I'm sure you'll let me know. But lappability, not so great. But when you throw it up on a desk, on a tray table, on an airplane, it's perfectly fine. And so for the right audience, I think this is a good device. Just don't plan on playing games. It's not designed for things like that. But for productivity-based tasks, I think you're going to be okay. Like if you're in an office with an ERP solution and you just need to punch some things in, perfect. If you're just responding to emails, it's going to be just fine. Editing a heavy PowerPoint, probably not so much. So just kind of think about what the workload is, and if it's mostly input based, this device will be just fine. And for the first line workers, the education environment as well, I think it'll be okay. The only thing is, I wish it was waterproof. I got a lot of feedback about that just being in like an assembly line or something like that, or especially in education, especially since there's no fan or anything like that. You would have thought that Microsoft could have made this thing fully waterproof. That would have been a nice addition here. So, the end result here, folks, is this is a good tablet from Microsoft. I think they did a good job. What you need to ask yourself before buying is, what is your end goal? If you are trying to buy a full-fledged laptop to use in college, I think you should go with the Surface Pro personally, or even a Surface laptop. If you were looking for a device to take on the road, to watch some videos on the airplane, to do some email, to sit in meetings all day and jot down some notes, this is a good device. If you're a first line worker, or if you're an office and you're looking to buy an outfit first line workers, this is a good device too. I mean, listen to that. Like it sounds solid. It doesn't feel like it's going to be fragile and break. No fans, no fuss, no moving parts other than the kickstand. Microsoft did a good job here for a specific category of users. Just what you need to assert is, if you're in that group that only can run, only wants to run one app at a time, this is for you. If you want to be a power user, go for the Pro. So, you guys, that's the nutshell version of the Surface Go. I'm going to be writing about this over the next year, because I typically do a 6-month follow-up, and I will continue to use this thing. I quite like it. I just wish the battery life was a little bit better. I know people might get caught up on the performance. To me, the battery life is the bigger Achilles heel here than anything else. So with that, guys, that kind of wraps it up for the Surface Go review. Drop any questions below, and I'll be happy to answer them. But after spending some solid time taking this thing on an airplane, talking to people in the industry, I feel pretty good about where this thing is headed, and I think it will sell well for Microsoft. I do. Again, just as long as you are the right class of user and understand what you're buying. And so that's the Surface Go from Microsoft. This has been a quick little follow-up review here, and have yourselves a wonderful day, and we'll catch you right back here next time, guys.